Hi everyone, I'm Jeff Meyer.
I'm Sara.
This is a video recap for our fifth and final class in our January 2020 Blues series at Lindy Groove. The topic for this month was Dance Yourself First. And the content of today's class was sort of split into two distinct categories. We started with cleanup of the content from last week. We talked about fishtails. We gave you some advice about your weight placement. So when we sit into that hip, our other leg is out sort of for embellishment purposes. Maybe you put a little pressure into the ground, but the weight is on this back foot. And the reason why it collects is you don't bring the foot in, you straighten up, you pivot, so hopefully your shoes are a little slippery, the floor is slippery. And then you pivot, and then you step back and go down. Don't reach too far out, but just take a reasonable step. It's often an illusion with fishtails. It looks really big because we're bending into the knee, but we don't actually need to take really big steps. Okay? We also talked a little bit more about the mooches. We talked about how at its core, it's we put our foot in front, maybe put a little pressure into the ground, and then we push off. So there's a tap, push, and then we talked about different ways in which we can move our hips that give it the blues aesthetic. So we talked about that tap, and then around, tap, and then around, tap, around. We practice rotating the hip at home. This is just an activity for you. You put those two things together and you get this pattern. We also talked about hands, different things you could do with your hands. You could have your
arms.
Your whole arms. So you could have your hands down, you could have your hands to the side, you could have your hands up, you could have like a hand on a hip. There's a variety of things that you can do, and we encourage you to play around with this so that at the end of the day when you're dancing with your whole body and everything is moving in synergy.
And we did that also with
the mooches. Yeah, so that as well, same thing. And then the second half of the class, we talked about decision making. We talked about it, asked you a few questions. We spent a lot of time talking about this, and this is something that we encourage you at home to think about. So the first question is, when you first hear the music, what are the things you think about to help you decide how you start moving, right? And we talked about things in the music, there's rhythm, there's the character, the adjectives. We talked about maybe if you're a partner, things you know about your partner. If you're dancing with someone you haven't met before versus someone you have a history with, that maybe informs the decisions of your initial movement. We then asked you to think about when do you change your movement very explicitly, right? What are the things that would suggest to you I'm going to change? Or alternatively, when do you think I'm going to stay in the same pattern or same movement for a little bit while longer? We had a very nice conversation again. We talked about things happening in the music, things happening within the partnership. And then the last...
and it also had to do with if we're connected to our partner or if we're disconnected.
And then the very last question, which we just sort of initially gave you to think about, and we encourage you to think about it at home, is what do you change when you do change? Right? And there's things you can change about your shape, about your rhythm. We encourage you to think about if you want to make a small adjustment to the thing you were just moving versus when you should try to change something more drastically that seems very, very different from the previous time. In any case, food for thought. Think about these things. We started a checklist, and you can develop this checklist on your own to help inform you to make decisions, or you can think of it as ways to help you be inspired to do different things in your dance, in your partner dance. Okay. So, anything else? All right, that's it. Great job, everyone. See you next time.